Hey friends, Tara Vossen-Kimper here, founder and clinical director of the Counseling Hub and practicing counselor slash therapist in the state of Missouri. Today I am going to talk about 3 reasons in particular why you why I would highly recommend that you give up people pleasing. Yes, people pleasing. Also lovingly known as caretaking. Sometimes people call it, well, I don't think people call it this. So caretaking and people pleasing are 2 of the really common ways that people talk about it. And it also can show up as having issues with boundaries and, enabling and codependency and blah, 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 that other stuff. I'm going to set that aside and literally just focus on caretaking and people pleasing. So if this is you, and there's a lot of folks who identify as caretakers and people pleasers, and a lot of people who get a lot out of it. However, maybe you're not getting as much as you think you are. And let's talk about why. First things first is that I don't really care what you do. I mean, I want the best for people. I really do. However, if you're doing this and you feel like it's working, like you're not having issues with the things I'm going to touch on, then what the hell ever, more power to you. The issue is that most people who are in this role struggle with really similar issues as a result of caretaking or people pleasing. So I want to touch on what those issues are and, use those as support in my, I don't want to say argument, use those as support in explaining why we would benefit from not caretaking or people pleasing. So again, you are not obligated to change anything, obviously, but you might be watching for a reason. The number one reason is that it is, you kind of come across as a martyr. And I'm really sorry to say that. You kind of come across as somebody who just, gives and gives and gives for others. And, oh, I'm just such a loving and giving person. And which is fine if you are. However, what usually goes along with that is an expectation that people are going to meet you with that same generous sort of nature. And usually what happens is that you're not met with that. And that can be very frustrating. It can feel like you're doing something, you're giving in some way to receive rather than just giving to give because you want to. So if you tie your kid's shoes or something and you then, I'm going to say, hold it over their heads later on, if you say to them, now, Johnny, I tied your shoe and so you need to tell me that you love me. Well, no, Johnny doesn't need to tell you that he loves you. You tied his shoe. You did something nice for him. A thank you might be warranted, but if you're doing something, if you're giving in some way to receive, that's kind of an issue. So I would say that's a big thing. And so there's that, like giving to receive. And then there's also the righteous victim. I just do so much from you and I don't get anything back. I mean, oh, please, nobody's forcing you to do things for others. That's what it kind of comes down to. So I'll say martyrdom, I'll say giving to receive. I'm kind of wrapping these all up together, right? But that's it. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. You are making a choice to give if you want to. And while, yeah, I expect people to be polite if I'm doing something for them and maybe say a thank you, my intention, and I hope that yours and I, in the future, maybe yours, shouldn't be to hold it over their head later on. So that's one reason why we need to get rid of this. Number 2 is that it usually builds resentment. So I should say it can, and usually does, build resentment on the part of the caretaker or the people pleaser. You give so much of everything. There's this generous sort of outpouring, right? It's like you're passing along all of your goods to other people because it's important to you that they feel good too. And it's important to you that they're taken care of. And it's significant in a lot of ways. And you want them to be better and to feel better and all of this. And again, this kind of ties in with point number 1, but when you don't get that back, then we start to get a little bit pissy about it. We start to feel resentful about the fact that we're giving so much but we're not getting anything in return. It becomes, well, where's my sugar? You know, I am your neighbor. Like, where are my goods? Where's my stuff coming back? Why am I doing so much for you, but I'm not getting anything in return? All of this said, I'm going to touch on boundaries later. I think I have a video on boundaries that I'll link it right here. So it's really up to the caretaker or people pleaser to change, basically. You know, if we're giving somebody so much stuff, if you feed a wild goose, here's a good example. If you're feeding a wild goose, do you think that goose is going to care that, you think they're going to bring you food back? Do you think they're probably just going to shit in front of you because they poop all the time? That's kind of the same thing, right? We're giving and we're giving and we're giving, and it's a reward to receive something. So the person on the other end is like, keep it coming. Like, I love all these goodies, whatever these goodies are. I don't know why they would want to change anything. So it becomes up to the caretaker or the people pleaser to change a little bit, right? Either change what you're giving, either change your expectations and say, look, I'm done unless I get a little bit of love in return. That's not, I hate you, you suck. That's, I'm not doing this anymore because I don't feel sane. That's much different. Okay, so if you want more, click on the link for the boundaries video. So those are the first two things, right? The number one is that kind of martyrdom, kind of wrapped up with the, oh, I give so much, that righteous victimhood, that giving to receive something back. The number two piece is that you usually feel resentful at some point in time about all that you do for people without receiving anything in return. That sucks. That's exhausting. You don't want to do that anymore. You might want to, but I don't know why. The third piece is that the more you stay in that people-pleasing and caretaking mentality, it's like the more that you perpetuate the belief that you don't deserve nice treatment or things or people in your life unless you're the one that's providing in some way. And, you know, this kind of ties in with, I would say, guilt. So a lot of caretakers, people pleasers, a lot of them feel guilty if they're not doing something for somebody else. You know, God forbid you put yourself first. No, you can't do that. You only give for others. And if you're not, then you feel guilty. Like, I feel guilty taking time for myself. That's usually like a sign of a caretaker. As a total side note, I love people pleasers and caretakers. I love working with them. It's one of my favorite things ever because I love boundaries. So it all kind of relates to each other. Okay, so one is that you feel guilty if you put yourself first ever, and that really sucks. And the other is that there's also anxiety and some fear. So I would say, coupled with the guilt, whenever you're not putting others first, there's also some anxiety and fear, like I just said. I mean, it's all kind of, is this person still going to want me around? Do they still love me? Do they still care for me? What if they're angry at me? What if they expect me to get something done? You know, I have to get it done because they have this expectation for me. There's all of this other stuff that's wrapped up in it. And I mean, I said this with a resentment piece, but oh my gosh, it's just exhausting. And I want people to take care of themselves. I'm not saying don't ever depend on or rely on or be friends with other people, or I'm not saying don't care for other people. I am saying to love yourself as much as you do your best friend, or love yourself as much as you do your spouse, or love yourself as much as you do your kids. Because by nature of taking care of yourself, you are inevitably going to be taking care of the others around you. So that's one of the, I'm not going to arguments, that's one of my rationales for people to shift from people pleasing to life preservation, right? Life enhancing sorts of things, personally enhancing sorts of things, because then you positively impact the people around you. And maybe you're more prone to giving, but it doesn't come from a place of needing to receive, or of feeling like a victim if nobody gives back, or of growing resentment, or feeling guilty if you don't. I mean, all that stuff is gone, and you can still take care of others after you take care of yourself first. So I'm done with the video. Have a great day. As per usual, questions, comments, plural, feedback, leave it below. Subscribe to the channel for more videos of the like. I am just all sorts of jumbled today. And that's because I had an extra cup of coffee. I had 2 small cups. That was a lot for me. Okay, so like I said, questions, comments, feedback, leave it below. Subscribe to the video for more of the like. And if you want to reach out directly, by all means, feel free. You can contact me via email at Tara, T-A-R-A, at thecounselinghub.com, or jump on thecounselinghub.com and check out some of the blog. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.